Okay, our video today is going to be about paracord. We're going to use various different strands of paracord. Inside this is military spec 3 paracord, which is used for all kinds of survival situations. I will cut into it and get the show started here. Okay, so we're going to use Big Knife, Mr. Big Knife, and we're going to just give it a quick cut open, and I can show you guys what's inside this paracord specifically. So inside this paracord we have many different strands. We have, you can see there, and you can see the yellow paracord, red paracord, which is wax coated jute for tinder or fire starting, and then we have a really thin white line in here. This thin white line just on the other side of the jute, which is right here, is for sewing or stitching. So you can sew or stitch with this one here. Yep. 40-pound test fishing line, wax coated jute. Then we have all these other multi-strands here that are polyester. These other strands here can be used for many different applications. Gill nets, that's usually one. Tying up shelters, using it to tie down things. You could also use the paracord itself for shoelaces if you break a bootlace or a shoelace out in the woods or in any kind of survival situation. So we'll go ahead and get the demonstration. We'll get the demonstration done with the different kinds of strands. Okay, so here we have, this is my ferro rod. It is a 5/8 inch ferro rod, has a wooden handle on it. And I also have the exact same paracord on this here for just outdoorsy or whatever survival stuff. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to try the wax coated jute. So this here part of the paracord, it's the fire starter. We're going to try this first, and I'll give you a demonstration on how you can use this to, you can use it to light fires. And this also comes in 3 strands. So it's triple braided jute. So it's 3 strands inside there. Then what you want to do with it is you want to just kind of want to just fuzz it up. Just take it and make it a little bit fuzzy on the ends, just like that, just enough so that you know it's going to catch a good spark. And then once it's lit, so I'm just going to place it down here, right there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to spark down on that, and I'll show you guys how this will light. So with the ferro rod, this is a multi-use metal card. You can order these anywhere. I got this one, as a matter of fact, I got this one from the dollar store, and frankly suits me just fine for all kinds of uses. Used it quite a bit. First want to get boom, there you go. That's how fast that lights. Incredibly quick. Just put it out. So yeah, it'll smoke. You can just like put it out with your fingers or whatever. But that'd be perfect in any emergency situation where you have to light a fire. That is good stuff. The second demonstration we're going to use today is the sewing line that's inside here. This line right here. We're going to use this sewing line in a demonstration on sewing up a piece of fabric. Just give it a good test and see how strong it is. I'll bring you right back when I'm ready to do the sewing. Alright, so here we have our needle. You can see. And then I took the thread piece out from the inside of that paracord that I had there. So this is the sewing part that we're going to use for sewing for it. and when I get the needle threaded, I will come back. Okay, so over here I have just an old chunk of denim for an old pair of pants. I've used this in the past to make char cloth, which will be another video as well. Char cloth is used to start fires. It's made with denim, cotton denim. So here's the needle, and then the thread that I have attached to it. It's not very long, just enough to give you guys a bit of an example of how it can be used. So we'll get the denim here, and then we have our cut and our material. I'm just gonna give you guys a really quick example of how to fix that. Even with gear, any kind of gear, it's incredibly strong thread. This thread here is really, really, really strong and tight, so you can get like a good sewing through there. So it does work good. It's very, very, very strong. I'm not a professional sewer, so the sewing job here is just for demonstration purposes only. And one more around and we'll make our knot. So take our line through here. This will make our knot. Of course, we give this a cut. We'll tie our little knot in our line, our sewing string, or thread, or however, or whatever you guys want to call it. Let's say thread. There we go. And that would be our, just to show you that it does a great job. And pull on that, like I'm pulling on that pretty good, and that's going to hold, that'll hold anything. That'll hold your gear, hole in your pants, whatever you want to do. A moth just flew out from in front of me, a big one. Yeah, so that'll do great for sewing. The next one we're going to do is the fishing line. So it's a 40-pound test braided fishing line, which is yellow in color. So we're going to do that one next. I'll be right back when that is ready to go. This line here, this is the 40-pound test braided fishing line that comes out of the core of the 550 survival paracord. It's only about, I could even tell you how thin that is, probably like less than a millimeter. And over here, which I'll bring into the screen, over here we have our lure. The little fishing lure. The jig, an old jig head. I just use this for an example of how this is going to work. So yeah, let's put this through here. So we're going to go through this. Right. Then we're going to put our knot in. Fisherman's knot's what I'm going to use. So come up and down. And I go one, it's called a bimini twist, 2, 3, 4. I put it back through the loop on top. Loop here, through the loop and pull. You can wet this knot here, you can wet it a little bit. Helps with the friction, but it's pretty good stuff there, and that's your knot for your lure. I wish I could test it on something. I just don't know what I could put it on to test it. strength wise and show numbers on a type of scale, but I guarantee you this is 40-pound test at least, because I've fished plenty in the past with braided fishing line, and that fishing line will hold if you're careful with it and can use it to play with the fish, as they say, while he's on your line. I'm pretty sure this fishing line here will hold up to a 20-pound fish, easy peasy. I'm just gonna use this. We're just gonna cut that excess little bit of line off. So there. Remember, this excess little bit just cuts it down a little bit better, but that's tight. Like I can pull on that. I can use my other hand. I can pull on that as hard as I can, and can pull pretty hard, and that will not break. The other line, that white line, you have to just make sure that you don't make the mistake. That's why they color code these lines, as this is the fishing line and it's braided, because the sewing line will snap. I mean, if you put a considerable amount of force on it, it's definitely not recommended for fishing, but this is, and this will totally hold. So that's the other strand inside the 550 mil Spec 3 Paracord. I'll be right back with another. Okay, so inside we have these 7 strands or 8 strands left inside here. Just cotton or like a type of polyester, because it's incredibly strong. Now inside each one of these, there are 3 threads that are together. So there's 1, 2, and 3. These can all be separated apart to make a gill net if you wanted to, and these Paracord, the 550 spec, military spec 3 Paracord, comes in like 100 foot lengths is what I got. It can come into 200 feet lengths, 300 feet lengths, 500 feet lengths. It just depends on what you're going to be using it for, and it's pretty reasonably priced. Yeah, you could use these for tying down a shelter, tying up a tripod. For cooking with, you could also use this to tie your pot onto a hook that you bushcraft to hold your pot of water over top the fire. And it'll work without burning as long as it's over top of the kettle or pot that you're using to boil. The fire will not burn this. I mean, it is flammable, but I mean, unless you get it into the fire. But if it's above the pot, you're good to go. And that's it for the military spec 3 Paracord demonstration today. Next up here, I'm going to show you fire pucks that I make. I make these fire pucks. I make these fire pucks here. Incredibly simple to make. All they are is wax. I mean, just you can find a ton of wax on like Marketplace in your local city, on Marketplace. I just simply put an ad out there looking for anybody who has wax, and I have all kinds, and some of these ones smell really good because some of the scented wax users will save all of their old wax for me, or I've had donations from people of tea lights. I got about 1,000 tea lights from one person, and it's all good wax that you can use to make these. The wood chips here, these are just wood chips from the local pet store. You can buy stuff called snake bedding. It's shredded wood. So this is snake bedding mixed in with rabbit cage chips for like a rabbit enclosure, things like that. And then what you do is I just loosen it up just a little bit on the top like that. And then I get my ferro rod out and I just put a spark on it, and it's super incredibly easy to use. These fire pucks here, these fire pucks will last up to 25 to 30 minutes per use. All you do is you double boil the wax on the stove or outside on a camp stove in a double boiler. It's better that way, so the wax doesn't come in direct contact with like the gas flame or the heat on the stove coil or element. Put about 5 or 6 cups of wax chunks, or 30 or 40 tea lights in there, and then you mix your wood in there, and you just make sure that your wood chips are completely soaked, and then you use a scooper to scoop them out into cups, which these cups are from Any Place Dollar, so or any kind of baking store, I guess, would have them, or any kind of bulk store would have them as well. So for this one, I'm just going to, again, take my ferro rod. I'll zoom out here for you, and then I'm just going to drop a spark on it. It's incredibly easy to get going. Just like that, and you have a fire started. Super incredibly easy. It'll light almost any fire. Another benefit of this product, I'm just going to take it and blow it out, so it will go out. Another benefit of this product is that it is completely waterproof, so you can pour water on that and it will still light. You can do it in rain. If your pack gets wet and it gets rainy, it'll still light in the rain. I've used them before when it's been pretty wet conditions out, and it lit. I'm going to give a demonstration of that with some water here in just 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back here. I'm just going to take a little bit of water out of my water jug here, and just to demonstrate for you guys that. So, I mean, a rain, light rain, whatever, that's a pretty good soak. So we'll let that soak in for just a few seconds here, and then I'll dump the water off of it, and I'll show you it should, and most likely will, relay right away, so that you can clearly see the water in there. I'll dump the water out of there like that. It'll crackle once it lights back up. It will crackle a little bit, just to let you guys know, because the wax makes the wood impervious to water, so it makes it so that the water won't penetrate the wood chips. So even on top where I've mixed it up a bit here, see where I've mixed it up a little bit, that's moist. You could definitely still feel the wet in that, but I know for a fact that'll light. So we'll get a spark down on that here. It'll take a couple of shots to get it lit, but it'll go. Of course. Just dig it up maybe a little bit more there on the bottom. Some finer stuff. There you go, just like that. There it is. Took a few shots, but it will relight and it will restart. This was just a simple demonstration to show you guys that it does work, and it does make it quite waterproof. Kind of like a waterproof match is basically what it is, except you're using a ferro rod to light it and not a match. But yeah, that'll light. I've used these in the past for boiling water. I've used them for cooking food on a trivet. I've used it for actually quite a bit of applications for different things for bushcrafting. I've used it for making all types of applications. I've used it for making dinner. Use it for boiling water. I've also used it for making char cloth with a trivet, and then you just put the tin over top with your denim material inside of it for the char cloth, and then in about 15-20 minutes you have char cloth. It's super easy to use. They're super versatile, and see, they will lit. It'll lit back up. You just kind of hold it too to get some of the other stuff going, or you could dig it up a little bit. Get just started. So that will light, and then that will burn. You can still start a fire with it. Also, with these here fire pucks, just gonna put that out. So just show you these fire pucks, so I can do one open here. I'll open this up for you guys to see. And just adjust my camera there. So this is what the inside of it looks like here. Just basically wax and chunks of wood. You can also cut these into several different pieces. You can quarter them, cut them into eighths, cut them into little cubes, and you can just use little tiny cubes to start a fire if you have to. You don't have to use the whole fire puck to light a fire. I usually only use about half of one. And it's, you know, frankly, it's better than paper, because when you light a fire with paper out in the woods, or if you're lighting a fire with paper, you have chunks of paper flying up into the air, chunks of whatever else. So I find this is one of the safest ways to do a fire, is to just use fire pucks. It was super easy to make and super inexpensive. I think all of the materials together were like under $20 Canadian. So, and then you have your center pieces here, and then you can cut off little pieces and also light them with your ferro rod, or light the inside if you want. Well, that concludes my demonstration on the fire puck. They are very versatile and usable in almost any situation. I've been outside when it was 20 below 0 degrees Celsius, and been out in the woods with these fire pucks, and they lit right up. Being out in the cold, I've had no problem with them in all kinds of weather. Snow, when it was snowing, when it was raining, I've lit fires. Obviously with the shelter over top the fire area that I had my fire at, and they work really great. They're super easy to make, super easy. Of course, you know, use caution when you're making them. Use a double boiler, because you don't want the wax to get too hot. Once the wax is completely melted, turn it off and start adding your wood chips, and then start putting them into cupcake cups, or you can use metal pie tins, whatever you want. One point I used tuna cans, and I filled up tuna cans, and I would just bring them out into the woods for a brief little fire, like if I had to cook, say, a hot dog or something like that. You know, you could cook a hot dog over top of that really easy. And although I wouldn't cook, I mean, the wax is, well, the scented waxes too might give your hot dog a bit of a nasty flavor. So I probably wouldn't recommend that. But you could use them to light a fire to cook hot dogs on, or just about anything else. That's going to conclude our outdoor video for today. Thanks guys for watching, and ciao. I just figured I'd bring the camera over here and notice some of our wild mushroom friends growing. These are wild mushrooms. I am no fungi expert. I am a fungi, but I am no fungi expert, that's for sure. Not exactly too sure what they are. I wouldn't risk any eating them, but just wanted to show some of the surrounding scenery out here, where I do a majority of my bushcrafting is out here in this nice little area I have. Well, it doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the city, but it's a pretty cool place to come and bushcraft. I've had tripods built out here, had them out here for a lot of years. So I like to come in the wintertime also. I like to do teas out here, or I come out and have a tea and have lunch every once in a while, and try to clean up a little bit of garbage on the way out. I recommend everybody does that too, just like a lot of other people, you know. Leave no trace. Come in, leave with everything you've come in with, and it just makes the world a better place.